The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched higher than any human building. Captain De Huang stood at the back of the chamber, his uniform pressed and perfect, watching as the representatives of 1,000 worlds argued about humanity's fate. He had seen many debates in this hall, but never one like this. Ambassador Hana Kang stood at the speaker's platform, her voice calm despite the hatred aimed at her. She was the human representative, and she had served the council well for 20 years. Now they wanted to take everything from her people. "We have followed every law," Hana said. "We have paid every tax. We have fought in your wars and built your stations. Now you ask us to give up our colonies, our homes, our children's futures. I cannot agree to this." The Vrexian ambassador rose from his seat. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with blue-black skin that seemed to absorb light. His species had ruled the council for 5,000 years. They were not used to being told no. "You speak of laws, human," the Vrexian said. His voice rumbled through the chamber like thunder. "But you forget your place. Your species joined the council only 70 years ago. You are children playing at politics. The Vrexian Empire needs those colonies for military bases. You will surrender them or you will leave the council." Dave felt his jaw tighten. The colonies the Vrexians wanted held 3 billion humans. Families, farmers, teachers, people who had built lives on those worlds over 3 generations. The Vrexians would force them all to leave, turning their homes into weapons factories and soldier barracks. "Then call the vote," Hana said quietly. "Let the council decide if your hunger for war is worth breaking your own laws." The chamber erupted in noise. Some species cheered for Hana's courage. Most remained silent, their representatives avoiding eye contact with the humans. Fear ruled the council, Day realized. Fear of the Vrexians and the dozen other powerful empires that controlled everything. The vote was called. Day watched as the results appeared on the great display. 800 species voted to expel humanity from the council. Only 50 voted against. 150 abstained, too afraid to choose either side. Humanity was alone. As Hana turned to leave the platform, one voice called out from the lower seats. A small figure stood, barely visible among the towering representatives of greater species. "This is wrong," the figure said. His translator struggled with his words, his voice thin and trembling. "You speak of laws and principles, but you break them when they inconvenience you. The humans have done nothing wrong. If you expel them for refusing an unjust demand, then the council stands for nothing." Day looked closer at the speaker. He was Threnody, one of the scholar species that maintained the council's archives and libraries. They were considered harmless, useful for keeping records, but nothing more. This one looked young, with pale green skin and large eyes that seemed too big for his face. "Remove that one from the chamber," the Vrexian ambassador commanded. "The Threnody have no vote in council matters." 2 security guards moved toward the Threnody. He stood his ground, still speaking even as they reached him. "My name is Kalemore. Remember it. Remember that someone spoke truth today, even if you were all too afraid to listen." They dragged him out. Hana met Day's eyes across the chamber, and he nodded. They left together, walking through corridors that had once welcomed them, now filled with hostile stares. Day's ship, the Perseverance, waited at the docking ring. It was a diplomatic vessel, not built for combat, but it was fast and it was home. His crew of 200 waited nervously as he and Hana boarded. "Captain," his first officer said, "we've been monitoring communications. The Vrexians are moving ships toward the colonies. They're not waiting for us to leave peacefully." "Of course they're not," Day said bitterly. "Alert Earth Defense Command. Tell them we're coming home, and war is coming with us." As the Perseverance prepared to leave, a small shuttle requested docking permission. Day almost denied it, but something made him pause. He checked the shuttle's registration. It was a Threnody research vessel. "Let it dock," he said. Minutes later, Kalemore stood in the ship's briefing room looking even smaller, surrounded by humans. He carried a single bag and wore simple robes. "Why did you speak for us?" Hana asked him gently. "Because it was right," Kalemore said simply. "The council has forgotten what it was meant to be. We keep the histories. We know that 10,000 years ago, the council was founded by species working together as equals. Now it is just an empire with prettier words. Someone had to say it." "They'll punish your people for what you did," Day said. "I know. That's why I asked to come with you. I cannot go home now, but perhaps I can help you. I know things about the Council that they think are safely buried in old archives. Information that might save lives when the war comes. Jin Yu, the ship's chief engineer, entered the briefing room. She was young, barely 25, but brilliant with technology. Captain, we're getting a distress signal. It's from New Horizon Colony, one of the outer settlements. They say Vrexian ships are attacking. Day's blood turned cold. How long to reach them? 14 hours at maximum speed, Jin said. But Captain, the signal says there are Vrexian battlecruisers. We're not armed for that kind of fight. We have to try, Hana said. Those are our people. Day knew she was right. He also knew they would probably arrive too late. The Vrexians didn't just attack, they made examples. But they had to try anyway. Set course for New Horizon, he ordered. Maximum speed. And send out a general broadcast to any human ships in the area. Tell them what's happening. The Perseverance jumped into faster-than-light travel, racing across the stars toward a battle they couldn't win. Kael'mor stood at the viewport, watching space blur past them. Your people don't know how to surrender, do they? He asked quietly. No, Day said. We don't. That's probably going to get us all killed. Perhaps, Kael'mor said. Or perhaps that's why your name will echo long after empires fall. 14 hours later, they dropped out of FTL near New Horizon. The colony was burning. Vrexian ships hung in orbit like metal predators, their weapons still firing at the planet below. The Perseverance was too late. Day ordered his ship to stay hidden behind the system's asteroid belt while they scanned for survivors. Jin worked at her console, her hands shaking as she sorted through the wreckage and radiation. Captain, she said finally, I'm picking up life signs on the surface. Maybe a few thousand people in the southern shelters, but there's something else. I found data files in the debris. Looks like someone was recording the attack, trying to send evidence to Earth. Can you recover it? Hana asked. Jin's fingers flew across her controls. Minutes passed. Then her face went pale. Captain, you need to see this. This wasn't just an attack on one colony. These files contain Vrexian military plans. They're planning to hit all of our colonies. 20 worlds. Billions of people. The bridge fell silent. Day looked at the burning planet on the view screen, then at his crew, then at Kael'mor, who had risked everything to stand with humans he had never met. Get those survivors aboard, Day said quietly, and copy every byte of those plans. Earth needs to know what's coming. As they worked to save who they could, Day understood that everything had changed. The Galactic Council had kept a fragile peace for 10,000 years. That peace was over now. Humanity stood alone against the greatest empire in the galaxy, but they would stand. They had no choice. And somehow, some way, they would make the galaxy remember what happened when you pushed humans too far. 6 months had passed since the Council expelled humanity, and every day brought more death. Admiral Dai Huang, promoted after the New Horizon disaster, stood in the command center on Earth's orbital defense station. The wall screens showed the grim mathematics of extinction. 50 Vrexian battle fleets advancing on human space, only one Earth defense fleet to stop them. Another colony went dark, Commander Tay Lim reported. She was his tactical officer now, promoted like everyone else because so many senior officers were dead. At 30 years old, she commanded more ships than most Council admirals. That's 12 colonies lost in 6 months. We're running out of time. Day nodded slowly. He was tired, bone-deep tired, but he couldn't show it. Millions of people across dozens of worlds looked to Earth for hope. What about the Proxima defense line? Ready as it can be, Tay said. We've mined every approach vector and positioned our ships in the debris field like you suggested. When the Vrexians come, they'll think they're facing a small force. They won't see the rest until it's too late. It was guerrilla warfare, adapted from Earth's history books. The Vrexians fought like the Council taught them, in massive formations with overwhelming firepower. Humans fought like humans always had, using tricks and traps and anything that gave them an edge. It was the only way to survive when outnumbered 50-1. Dr. Sora Min entered the command center, carrying her tablet. She was a xenobiologist who had spent years studying alien species. Now she studied how to kill them. I have the analysis on Vrexian biology you requested. Their inner ears are sensitive to certain frequencies. If we modify our weapons to emit those frequencies when they fire, it might disorient their crews. Might? Day asked. I don't have live subjects to test on, Sora said dryly. But it should work. Evolution doesn't lie. Send it to all fleet ships, Day ordered. Every advantage helps. A young woman in civilian clothes approached them. Nari Cha was a war correspondent who had insisted on staying in the war zone despite the danger. She recorded everything, sending broadcasts back to Earth and out into the galaxy through the underground networks that the Council couldn't fully control. Admiral, I'd like to interview you for tonight's broadcast, Nari said. People need to see that we're still fighting. People can see the casualty lists, Dai said. That tells them everything. It tells them we're losing, Nari said. I want to show them we're still standing. That matters. Before Day could respond, alarms blared across the command center. Tay's voice cut through the noise. Contact. Vrexian fleet entering the Proxima system. 3 capital ships, 20 cruisers, and 40 destroyers. They're heading straight for the defense line. This is it, Day said. All ships to battle stations. Tay, execute your plan. Show them what humans can do. The battle began badly, as all battles did. The Vrexians came in their standard formation, confident and powerful. They had fought and won thousands of battles over thousands of years. Why would this be different? The human fleet appeared to retreat, falling back toward the planet. The Vrexians pursued, exactly as Tay predicted. That's when the mines activated, exploding in carefully timed sequences that broke up the enemy formation. Human ships burst from their hiding spots in the debris field, hitting the confused Vrexians from 6 directions at once. Day watched from the command center as the battle unfolded. Tay's plan was working. The Vrexians hadn't expected this. They were trying to reform, but human ships were too fast, too unpredictable. They struck and vanished like wolves hunting a bear. Captain Dal Shin reports his squadron has destroyed a capital ship's engines, Tay called out. Lieutenant Han Yun's fighters are making their attack run on the 2nd capital ship now. On screen, Day saw Han's fighter squadron moving in a pattern no Council pilot would attempt. They wove through enemy fire like dancers. Impossible to target. Their modified weapons screaming frequencies that made Vrexian crews clutch their heads in pain. It was beautiful and terrible. The 3rd capital ship is breaking away, an officer reported. They're retreating. The command center erupted in cheers. A Vrexian capital ship had never retreated before. Not in 5,000 years of conquest. But it was retreating now, limping away with 2 of its companions destroyed and the rest of its fleet scattered. Humanity had won a battle. Nari recorded everything, her camera capturing the moment when humans proved they could fight back. That broadcast would spread across the galaxy faster than any Vrexian ship could catch it. 3 days later, Ambassador Hana stood in a secret meeting room on Earth's moon. The room was shielded against any scanning, any listening devices. She had called this meeting, but she didn't know if anyone would come. The door opened. 3 aliens entered quietly. Tay recognized one of them, Kael'mor, who had been living on Earth since the Council vote, teaching humans about galactic history and politics. The other 2 were unknown. Ambassador Hana, Kael'mor said formally. May I introduce Ambassador Vel of the Kelix people and Commander Sek of the Dromath fleet. The Kelix was a small, furry creature with large eyes. The Dromath was built like a boulder with arms. Both looked nervous. You asked to meet, Vel said in a high-pitched voice. We came, even though it could mean our deaths if the Council discovers this. I saw your broadcast, Sek said, looking at Nari. The battle at Proxima. We have watched humans fight for 6 months. You win battles you should lose. You survive attacks that should kill you. You don't surrender even when surrender would be easier. We can't surrender, Hana said simply. They want to erase us. We know, Vel said. The Vrexians erased 2 of my people's colonies 50 years ago. We protested. They ignored us. The Council did nothing. We learned to be quiet and hoped they forgot about us. But you haven't forgotten, Day said. No, Sek growled. The Dromath remember every injustice. We are strong, but we are few. The Council uses us as shock troops, sends us to die in their wars, gives us nothing in return. We are slaves who pretend to be members. Why are you here? Hana asked gently. Because you showed us something, Kael'mor said. You showed the galaxy that the Vrexians can bleed, that the Council can be fought. We have spoken with others, species like us who have suffered under Council rule. 27 species in total. We want to help. You'll be expelled like us, Day warned. Maybe worse. We know, Vel said. We accept it, because watching humans fight alone while we do nothing makes us ashamed. If we must choose between safety and honor, we choose honor. Hana looked at each of them in turn. 27 species, not many, and most of them were small, weak, ignored by the Council's powerful empires. But it was help. It was hope. Then let's talk about how we win this war, she said. Over the next weeks, ships began arriving in human space. Not many. A few dozen here, a few hundred there. The Threnodi sent scholars and scientists. The Kellic sent supply ships and medical teams. The Dramath sent warriors, eager to fight beside the humans who had shown them courage. Kael'mor worked, tirelessly, coordinating the secret alliance, teaching humans and aliens how to work together. His name spread through the underground networks. The Threnodi who stood with humans. The scholar who chose courage over safety. Lieutenant Han trained alien pilots in human tactics. They struggled at first, trying to fight the way the Council taught them. Han showed them something different. Forget their rules, he told them. The Council fights the same way it has for 10,000 years. We fight to win, no matter what it takes. The alien pilots learned quickly. They had been held back by Council doctrine, taught that innovation was dangerous. Humans showed them that innovation was survival. Nari broadcast everything, showing the galaxy something it had never seen before. Humans and aliens working as equals. Species that had never spoken to each other now fought side by side. The Council preached unity but enforced hierarchy. Humans practiced unity and offered partnership. The Vrexians noticed. They prepared their answer. Intelligence reports reached Earth showing massive ship construction. Something big was coming. Something terrible. They're building a special fleet, Tay reported today one morning. Our sources call it the Worldbreaker Fleet, designed to crack planets open. They're going to come for Earth itself. Day looked at the star map showing human space and their new allies. It wasn't enough. Even with help from 27 species, they were still outnumbered and outgunned. How long do we have, he asked. 3 months, Tay said. Maybe less. Then we have 3 months to prepare, Day said. Send word to all our allies. The final battle is coming. Earth will be the place we make our stand. That night, Kael'mor found Day standing alone in the observation deck, staring at Earth below. You know you might lose, Kael'mor said quietly. I know, Day replied, but we'll make them remember us. Every species that the Council has crushed and forgotten, they'll remember that humans fought back. Your name will echo beyond empires, Kael'mor said. All of your names, but I hope you survive to hear the echo. So do I, Day said. So do I. The Worldbreaker fleet arrived on a Tuesday morning, appearing at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark omen. Admiral Day Huang watched them come. 300 massive warships built for one purpose, to destroy planets. The flagship was 3 kilometers long, covered in weapons that could burn continents. Reading 173 capital ships, Commander Tay Lim reported, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. 400 cruisers, 800 smaller vessels. Admiral, we're looking at the largest military fleet ever assembled. Earth Defense Fleet had 92 ships. The Allied forces from 27 species added another 130 vessels. Against the Worldbreaker fleet, it wasn't enough. Everyone in the command center knew it. Everyone in the solar system knew it. The Vrexian commander broadcast across all frequencies. His voice was cold and final. Humans of Earth, your rebellion ends today. Surrender now. Accept slavery. Your species will live, working in our factories, serving our empire. Refuse and we will crack your world open. You have 1 hour to decide. Ambassador Hana stood beside Day in the command center. She had asked to be here for this moment. What should I tell them? She asked quietly. Tell them what humans do best, Day said. Hana activated the communication system, broadcasting to Earth, to the fleet, to the entire galaxy through Nari's network. Her voice was calm, but it carried the weight of humanity's choice. People of Earth, people of the galaxy who can hear this. Today the Vrexians offer us chains or death. They think these are our only choices. They are wrong. There is a third choice, the choice we have always made. We choose to stand. We choose to fight. We would rather burn as free beings than live as slaves. And to every species watching this, your choice is coming too. Stand with your chains or stand with those who dare to break them. The hour passed in silence. The Vrexians got their answer. The Worldbreaker fleet began moving toward Earth. Their formation was perfect, overwhelming, unstoppable. Admiral Wu Park commanded the orbital defense platforms around Earth. 96 massive weapon stations, humanity's last line of defense. Defense platforms ready, Wu reported. We'll make every shot count. That's when the impossible happened. Space rippled with jump signatures. Ships appeared throughout the solar system. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. Kael'mor stood at his console, tears running down his green face. They came, he whispered. They all came. The small species of the galaxy, the ones the Council ignored and used and forgot, they came. The Threnodi brought their small fleet of research vessels converted to warships. The Kellics came with medical ships and supply vessels armed with improvised weapons. The Dromath sent every warrior they had. But it wasn't just the 27 original allies. Other species came too. Ones that had watched humanity's broadcasts. Ones that saw humans and their allies fighting as equals. 40 species. 50. 70. Each brought what they could, even if it was only a few ships. The Vrexian commander was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, the sound harsh and mocking across the communication channels. Insects gathering to die together. How touching. All ships fire at will. Erase them all. The Battle of Earth began. The Vrexians came forward in their standard formation, confident in their power. They had fought thousands of battles. They had never lost. The Allied fleet scattered before them, seeming to break in panic. It was a trap. Lieutenant Han Yun led his fighter squadron in the first strike, screaming in from above the battleplane where Vrexian sensors weren't watching. His fighters moved in patterns that Council pilots said were impossible, weaving through weapon fire that should have killed them. They struck at the flagship's shield generators, the modified weapons screaming frequencies that made Vrexian crews stagger. Dr. Sora's research had given them more than just painful sounds. She had found weaknesses in Vrexian shields, places where specific energy frequencies could punch through. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Commander Tay controlled the battle from Earth's command center, coordinating 90 different species who had never fought together before. She used tactics from human history, from every war Earth had ever fought. The Council taught standard formations and standard responses. Tay taught chaos. Human ships and their allies struck from every direction, never where the Vrexians expected. They used the moon as cover. Hidden debris fields jumped in and out at random. Captain Dal Shin's prototype ship, the Indomitable, showed what human engineering could do when every rule was broken. It moved faster, hit harder, and survived hits that should have destroyed it. Mina Song watched from her workshop on Earth's surface. She was a civilian engineer who had volunteered for an insane project. In front of her stood a weapon built from mining lasers, power generators, and pure desperation. It wasn't pretty. It probably wouldn't work more than once, but Mina had aimed it at the Vrexian flagship. Power at 98%, her assistant called out. We need 100% or it won't punch through their shields. Then give me 100%, Mina said calmly. Divert power from the whole city if you have to. We only get one shot. In space, the battle raged. Ships exploded. People died. Humans and aliens alike burning together in the cold vacuum. The Vrexians were winning through sheer numbers. Pushing closer to Earth, Kael'mor's ship, a small Threnodi vessel called Truth's Echo, positioned itself between a Vrexian cruiser and a damaged human destroyer. The Vrexian fired. Kael'mor's shields held for 3 seconds before failing. His ship died, but the human destroyer lived long enough to escape. Admiral Day watched Kael'mor's ship explode, watched the friend who had risked everything for humans die in flame. Rage and grief filled him, but he pushed them down. Grieve later. Fight now. All ships focus fire on the flagship, he ordered. Every weapon we have now. The Allied fleet turned as one, pouring fire into the Vrexian flagship. It was massive, its shields powerful, but even the strongest shield has limits. Hundreds of ships firing together, using Dr. Sora's frequency weapons, began to overload the flagship's defenses. "Admiral," Mina's voice came through the communication system. "My weapon is ready. I need a clear shot at their flagship. Can you give me 30 seconds? "The flagship's shields are still up," Day said. "Your weapon won't get through." "Its shields are at 37% power," Mina said. "I've been monitoring. Give me a clear shot and I'll do the rest." Day looked at Tay. She nodded. "I can get her 30 seconds. But we'll lose ships doing it." "Do it," Day said. Human ships threw themselves at the Vrexian fleet, drawing fire, sacrificing themselves to give Mina her chance. Admiral Wu's defense platforms fired every weapon at maximum power, not caring that they would burn out. 30 seconds of clear sky between Earth and the flagship. Mina fired. Her jury-rigged weapon was built from desperation and human stubbornness. The beam of energy it produced wasn't elegant or efficient, but it was powerful. It punched through the weakened shields of the Vrexian flagship and tore through the hull like paper. The flagship didn't explode. It just stopped, dead in space, bleeding atmosphere and bodies. The Vrexian fleet hesitated. Their flagship was crippled. Their commander was dead or dying. They had never faced this before, this chaos, this impossible resistance. "All ships press the attack," Day ordered. "Don't give them time to think." The Allied fleet surged forward. Species that had been slaves and servants showed the Council what they could do when fighting for something that mattered. They fought with courage learned from humans, with tactics that broke every Council rule, with a fury born from generations of suffering. The Vrexian fleet broke. Ships began jumping away, retreating, running from a battle they had thought would be easy. The Worldbreaker fleet, designed to crack planets, was defeated by the species it had tried to crush. Cheers erupted across the command center, across Earth, across every Allied ship. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had won. But the cost was terrible. Day looked at the casualty reports. 40,000 ships had fought. 12,000 survived. Billions of people on Earth were dead from the bombardment before the Vrexians retreated. Cities were burning. Continents were scarred. Hana stood beside him, tears running down her face. "We won," she said. "But look at what it cost us. The Council will never forget this day," Day said quietly. "For 10,000 years they ruled through fear. Today we showed them that fear works both ways." On the moon, Mina Song stood in the ruins of her workshop, looking at the melted remains of her weapon. It had fired once, just as she predicted, then destroyed itself. But it had been enough. Lieutenant Han landed his fighter with minutes of fuel left, exhausted and wounded, but alive. His squadron had lost half their pilots. The survivors would carry the names of the fallen forever. Admiral Wu's defense platforms were slag, burned out from firing beyond their limits. But Earth still stood. Nari broadcast the victory to the galaxy, showing the Worldbreaker fleet in retreat, showing the Allied species standing together over Earth. Every oppressed species in the Council saw it. The mighty could be beaten. The strong could bleed. In the wreckage of space, floating debris marked where Kelmore's ship had died. But his name lived on. Across the galaxy, beings whispered it. The scholar who stood with humans. The one who proved that courage mattered more than power. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was burning. Not with destruction, but with revolution. The species that the Galactic Council had ruled for 10,000 years were rising up, inspired by what humans and their allies had done. They called themselves the Free Coalition, and they were winning. Admiral Day Huang stood in the war room of the Coalition's new headquarters, built in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The star map before him showed 23 worlds liberated in the past year, each one a former Council colony where slaves had been freed and tyrants removed. General Sanko reports another victory at Viridian, Commander Tay Lim said, updating the map. The Vrexian garrison surrendered after 3 days. We freed 4 million enslaved beings. Sang was the Coalition's ground force commander, a former Earth defense marine who had learned to lead not just humans, but soldiers from 40 different species. His tactics combined human military history with alien strengths, creating something the Council had never faced before. "How many casualties?" Dee asked. "Minimal," Tay replied. "The garrison troops saw our broadcasts. Half of them deserted before we even attacked. The rest surrendered when they realized we weren't going to massacre them. That was the Coalition's secret weapon, Mercy. When they captured Council soldiers, they didn't execute them. They showed them how the Coalition worked. Species cooperating as equals, then gave them a choice. Join the Free Peoples or go home. Most went home. Some stayed. The war room door opened and Una Bayek entered, carrying her diplomatic case. She was the Coalition's chief negotiator, traveling to neutral worlds and wavering Council species. Her job was harder than Sang's. Conquering planets was simple compared to changing minds. I just returned from the Helican Confederacy, Una said, exhaustion clear in her voice. They're considering leaving the Council. Their leadership knows the Council is dying, but they're afraid of what comes next. Can you convince them? Ambassador Hana asked. She had become the Coalition's political leader, the voice that spoke for all free peoples. I'm trying, Una said, but we're asking them to abandon 10,000 years of tradition. The Council has problems, but it's stable. We're offering them freedom and uncertainty. That's a hard sell. Show them the histories, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see an elderly Threnody enter the room. His name was Vornal, and he was the keeper of the ancient archives. After Kaelmore died defending Earth, other Threnody had joined the Coalition, bringing their knowledge with them. The Council wasn't always this way, Vornal continued. I've been researching the founding documents, the ones the Council hides in classified archives. 10,000 years ago, the Council was created by 10 species working together to survive. But the Vrexians and a few others grew powerful. They changed the rules slowly, generation by generation, until cooperation became domination. So the Council is built on a lie, Sang said. Not a lie, Vornal corrected. A corruption. The ideal was real once. We can make it real again. Hana looked at the star map, at the growing collection of free worlds. Then that's what we tell them. We're not destroying the Council's dream. We're saving it. Across the galaxy, on a Vrexian fortress world called Kragnor, General Sang prepared his forces for the hardest battle yet. The planet held slave camps where millions of beings worked in terrible conditions, mining rare metals for Vrexian weapons. Freeing them meant storming the most defended world in this sector. The Vrexians have 30,000 troops on the surface, Sang's intelligence officer reported, plus orbital defenses and a fleet of 40 ships. We have 20,000 soldiers from 18 species, Sang said, studying the tactical maps. We're outnumbered and outgunned. Perfect. His officers laughed. They had learned that when humans said something was impossible, that's when they tried hardest. The assault began at dawn, using tactics that would have made Council generals weep. Coalition ships didn't attack in formation. They scattered, each one acting independently, making the Vrexians defend everywhere at once. While the Vrexian fleet chased shadows, transport ships landed troops in the mining camps themselves. Sang led from the front, fighting beside Dramath warriors and Kellic scouts. They didn't just fight the Vrexian guards. They armed the slaves, turned prisoners into soldiers, gave them a choice. Die in chains or fight for freedom. The slaves chose freedom. The battle turned into chaos as thousands of freed beings joined the Coalition forces. The Vrexian defenders found themselves surrounded, outnumbered by the people they had enslaved. Their fortress became a trap. Vrexian commander is requesting terms, an officer reported to Sang. Tell him we accept surrender, Sang said. No executions. No torture. Just a cell until the war ends. We're not like them. When the fortress fell, Coalition soldiers found records of every slave camp in this sector of space. Hundreds of worlds, millions of enslaved beings. Sang sent the data to Una. She would use it to convince more species to join them. Meanwhile, Captain Dal Shin commanded the Indomitable, testing new technologies born from human innovation and alien knowledge. The Coalition scientists worked together, sharing ideas the Council would have kept secret. The result was ships that jumped further, shields that adapted to incoming fire, weapons that learned from each battle. Dal's mission was to prove these technologies worked. He took the Indomitable deep into Council space, appearing at random worlds to broadcast Coalition messages. The Council sent ships to stop him. They never could. He was always faster, always one step ahead. The Council is calling you a terrorist, his communication officer said, reading the latest Council broadcasts. Good, Dal said. That means they're afraid. On a diplomatic station at the edge of neutral space, Una met with representatives from the Helican Confederacy. She had been negotiating for months. Now came the final meeting. "We've watched your coalition," the Helican ambassador said. "We've seen humans and dozens of species working together. It seems impossible." "It seemed impossible to us too," Una said honestly. "We fight constantly. Different species want different things. Sometimes we barely agree on anything." "Then how does it work?" "Because we talk," Una said simply. "When we disagree, we argue until we find a solution everyone can accept. It's slow. It's frustrating. But it's better than one species deciding for everyone else." The Helican ambassador was quiet for a long moment. "The Council is offering us protection if we help them crush you. They say the coalition will fall apart, that you're just rebels without a real government." "They're right," Una said. "We're not a government like the Council. We're something new, something that scares them because they can't control it. We're free peoples choosing to work together. That's more powerful than any empire." "And if we join you?" the ambassador asked. "The Vrexians will attack us." "Yes," Una said. "And the coalition will defend you. Every ship we have, every soldier, every resource. Because that's what free peoples do. We stand together." 2 days later, the Helican Confederacy announced they were leaving the Council. 3 other species followed within a week. The Council was fracturing. In the war room on the asteroid base, Day watched the Council fall apart. More species were leaving every month. Some joined the coalition. Others stayed neutral, afraid to choose sides. But the Council's power was fading. "The Vrexian Emperor is calling for total war," Tay reported. "He's ordering every loyal species to send their fleets to the Council seat. One final battle to crush us." "How many ships?" Hana asked. "Intelligence says 5,000, Tay replied. "Maybe more. Everything they have left." The room fell silent. The coalition had won many battles, but they had never faced the Council's full military might. The Battle of Earth had been terrible. This would be worse. "Then we go to the Council seat," Day said quietly. "We end this there." "That's their home territory," Sang protested. "Every advantage will be theirs." "Yes," Day agreed. "But if we win there, at the heart of their power, the war ends. The Council can't survive losing their capital." "And if we lose?" Una asked. "Then we lose," Hana said. "But we'll have tried. That's what Kalemore taught us. Sometimes trying matters more than winning." Orders went out across coalition space. Every ship, every soldier, every being who believed in freedom prepared for the final battle. They would go to the Council seat, the ancient station that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Dal brought the Indomitable home to join the fleet. Sang gathered his ground forces, preparing to board the station itself. Una contacted every neutral species, asking them to watch what happened, to remember who fought for freedom and who fought to maintain slavery. Nari prepared to broadcast the battle to the entire galaxy. Whatever happened at the Council seat would be seen by every being in every world. The Council's victory or the Coalition's would echo forever. Before the fleet departed, Day stood before all the Coalition forces in a recorded message. "We are humans. Threnody, Kelix, Dramath, and 60 other species," he said. "1 year ago, the Council said we would fail. They said different species could never work as equals. They said freedom was a lie and order was everything. We proved them wrong. Now we finish what we started. For every being who died in chains. For Kalemore and everyone like him who chose courage over safety. For every child who deserves to grow up free. We go to the Council seat and we end tyranny." The Council seat hung in space like a metal moon, a station so large it had its own gravity. It had stood for 10,000 years, the symbol of galactic order. Around it, 5,000 Council warships waited, ready to defend their empire to the last. Admiral De Huang watched them from the bridge of his flagship. The Coalition had brought 3,000 ships, everything they had. Every species, every soldier, every person who believed freedom was worth dying for. Behind them, the galaxy watched through Nari's broadcasts. "The Vrexian Emperor is broadcasting," Commander Tay Lim said. The Emperor's face appeared on screen, ancient and cold. "This is your final chance, rebels. Surrender now and we will show mercy. Continue this madness and we will destroy you all, even if we must destroy the Council seat itself." "He's bluffing," Sang said from his position leading the boarding teams. "The Council seat holds trillions of beings. He wouldn't kill them all." "Yes, he would," Una said quietly. She had studied the Council's history. "They've done it before. When a colony rebelled 3,000 years ago, the Council destroyed the entire world. 10 billion dead. The Emperor will do the same now. Day looked at Hana. Your decision, Ambassador. You speak for the coalition. Hana activated her communication system, broadcasting to both fleets and to the galaxy beyond. Emperor, you threaten to kill your own people to maintain power. That tells us everything we need to know. You don't rule an empire. You rule a prison. And today we're breaking down the walls. The battle began. Council ships came forward in perfect formation, thousands of years of military tradition behind them. The coalition scattered like leaves in wind, each ship moving independently. Dal's prototype Indomitable led the charge, its new engines letting it appear and disappear across the battlefield. But this time was different. The Council had learned from their defeats. They spread out, adapted their tactics, copied coalition strategies. The battle turned into pure chaos. Thousands of ships fighting in 3 dimensions. No formations, no rules. Just fury and fire. Lieutenant Han's fighter squadron, now famous across the galaxy, dived into the thickest fighting. They had trained 100 other pilots from different species. Those pilots trained others. Now thousands of fighters moved like Han did, breaking every rule, making the impossible look easy. We're losing too many ships, Tay reported. The Council is trading 1 for 1. They can afford it. We can't. Day knew she was right. The coalition was winning battles through skill and courage, but the Council had numbers. Eventually, numbers would win. Captain Dal, Day called. Can you get through to the Council seat? Get our boarding teams onto the station? I can try, Dal replied. But the station's defenses will tear us apart. Then we make them focus on something else, Day said. All capital ships target the station's shields. Everything we have. Give Dal his opening. Coalition capital ships turned their weapons on the massive station. The shields held, but they strained under the assault. In that moment of distraction, Dal's ship and 50 transports raced forward, weaving through defensive fire. Dal's ship was hit 3 times. Shields failed. Hull breached, but the Indomitable kept going, kept flying, held together by Dal's skill and sheer human stubbornness. The transports followed him through the storm of fire. They crashed into the station's docking bays, landing hard. Sang led his soldiers out, 10,000 troops from 20 species. They were outnumbered by station security 50 to 1. Sang smiled. He had faced worse odds before. The fighting in the station was brutal. Narrow corridors. No room for tactics, just skill and will. Coalition soldiers pushed forward meter by meter. Sang led from the front, fighting beside beings he had trained. Beings who had learned from human military history what determination could achieve. In space, the battle raged. Dr. Sora's research had given them every advantage they could find, but it wasn't enough. Ships exploded. People died. The mathematics of war were clear. The coalition was losing. Then something changed. Council ships began breaking formation. Some of them stopped firing. Communication channels lit up with confused messages. A Vrexian cruiser broadcast to all frequencies. This is Captain Vortek of the heavy cruiser Dominion. I have relieved my commanding officer. We will not fire on coalition forces. The Emperor has activated the Council seat's self-destruct. He plans to kill everyone, loyalist and rebel alike. This madness ends now. More Council ships followed. Officers who had watched the coalition broadcasts, who had seen species working together, who had questioned why they fought to preserve tyranny. Not all Council ships mutinied. Many stayed loyal. But enough changed sides to matter. The station is counting down, Tay reported, horror in her voice. 4 minutes to self-destruct. Sang, you need to evacuate. Can't, Sang replied over the communication channel. The sound of weapon fire was loud behind his voice. We're pinned down near the control center. If we leave, the Emperor wins anyway. He'll blow the station and billions die. Then we disable the self-destruct, Day said. It's coded to the Emperor's personal authorization, Yuna said. Only he can stop it. Then we get him to stop it, Day said. Sang understood. He redirected his forces, pushing toward the Emperor's command center. They fought through loyal guards, through automated defenses, through soldiers who believed in the Council with religious fervor. Sang's troops reached the command center with 90 seconds left. The Emperor stood before a massive window showing the battle outside, his back to them. Come to kill me? The Emperor asked calmly. No, Sang said. We came to save your people. Stop the self-destruct. Why would I do that? The Emperor turned. If I cannot rule, no one will. The council seat will die. You will die. And the galaxy will remember that challenging the council means death. The galaxy will remember you murdered your own people. Yuna's voice came through Sang's communication device. She was speaking to every being on the station, broadcasting the Emperor's words. They'll remember you chose to destroy everything rather than accept change. The Emperor's face twisted with rage. Then we all burned together. 60 seconds, a Rexian officer stepped forward, one of the Emperor's own guards. No, we don't. The guard shot the Emperor. Not to kill, just to disable. The ancient ruler fell, his hand reaching for the control panel, failing. I am Captain Zeknor, the guard said. I have served the Emperor for 30 years, but I will not die for his pride. Computer, authorization Zeknor 7 Alpha. Cancel self-destruct. Authorization accepted, the computer responded. Self-destruct canceled. The station went silent. The battle stopped. Thousands of ships, millions of beings, all frozen in the moment between war and peace. Day broadcast to all forces, coalition and council. The Emperor has fallen. The self-destruct is stopped. We did not come here to conquer. We came to free. Any council forces that want to keep fighting can leave now. Any who want to help build something better, you're welcome to stay. Most council ships jumped away, fleeing to their homeworlds. Some stayed, their officers and crews tired of fighting for an empire that would kill them to maintain power. The war was over. Weeks later, representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered where the council chamber once stood. Ambassador Hana stood before them, not as a conqueror but as a voice for something new. The Galactic Council is ended, she said. But the dream it was founded on, true cooperation between species, that dream survives. We propose the Concordat of free worlds. Every species has equal voice. Advancement through merit, not birth. Freedom to choose your path. The vote was close. Many species feared change. But enough voted yes to matter. The Concordat was born. General Sang established the Defense Academy, teaching soldiers from all species to work together. Commander Tay designed the new military doctrine, combining the best tactics from every culture. Dr. Sora led research to help species understand each other better. Lieutenant Han taught flight to students from 100 worlds. Captain Dal's innovations became the foundation for Concordat technology. Yuna negotiated treaties that turned former enemies into partners. Admiral Day oversaw the integration of Council military forces who chose to stay. Many asked to serve under him, wanting to learn from the human who had defeated them through adaptability and refusal to surrender. On Earth, a memorial was built. It listed every name of those who died for freedom, human and alien together. The words that started everything were carved at the top. Stand with humans, and your name will echo beyond empires. Ambassador Hana added one final line below. Stand with freedom, and you echo forever. Nari recorded it all, showing the galaxy what came after the war. Not perfect peace. There were still arguments, disagreements, conflicts between species. But they were solving them through words now, not weapons. 1 year after the Battle of the Council Seat, Hana stood at Kael'Mor's memorial on Earth. The Threnody scholar had died defending humans he barely knew, believing in a principle larger than himself. Your name echoes, Hana said quietly to the memorial. Across the galaxy in 100 languages, beings tell the story of the scholar who stood with humans. Children learn about courage from your example. You changed everything, Kael'Mor. You and everyone like you who chose to stand. Across the galaxy, in markets and schools and homes, beings told the story. How humans refused to surrender. How species worked together as equals.